Beneath an apple tree in a garden in Warsaw, there were 2 glass jars. Inside them, rolled into tiny scrolls, were 2,500 pieces of paper. Each piece carried a name, a child's name, a birth date, the names of the family they had come from, and the name of the family they had been given to. The woman who buried those jars knew that one day, when the war was over, she would dig them up. She would find those children. She would give them back their names, their histories, their identities. She was wrong about one thing. Most of the families on those pieces of paper no longer existed. Her name was Irena Sendler. She was a Polish social worker, Catholic, 29 years old when the war began. She saved 2,500 Jewish children from the Warsaw Ghetto. Almost no one has heard of her. Irena Sendler was born on February 15, 1910, in Otwock, a small town near Warsaw. Her father was a physician, one of the few doctors in the region willing to treat Jewish patients during a time of widespread anti-Semitism. He died of typhus when Irena was 7 years old, contracted from a patient he had refused to turn away. Before he died, he told his daughter something she never forgot. If you see someone drowning, you must jump in to save them, even if you cannot swim. Irena grew up in Warsaw. She studied Polish literature at the University of Warsaw, where she protested against anti-Semitic seating policies and had her student record stamped as punishment. She became a social worker, eventually working for the Warsaw Social Welfare Department, a position that would, years later, give her access to places most people could not go. She was small, dark-haired, quietly determined. People who knew her described a woman who did not speak loudly about her convictions. She simply acted on them without hesitation, without asking for recognition. In October 1940, the German occupiers established the Warsaw Ghetto, a walled district of approximately 1.3 square miles into which they forced over 400,000 Jewish men, women, and children. The conditions were designed to kill. Food rations provided approximately 180 calories per day, 1/10 of what a human body requires to function. Disease spread without resistance. By 1942, between 5,000 and 6,000 people were dying inside the ghetto every month, from starvation, from typhus, from exposure. Irena Sendler obtained a pass from the Warsaw Epidemic Control Office, which allowed her to enter the ghetto under the pretext of inspecting sanitary conditions and combating typhus. She entered almost every day. What she saw determined the rest of her life. She later said, "I was brought up to believe that a person must be rescued when drowning, regardless of religion or nationality." Her father's words, 30 years later. Beginning in 1942, Irena Sendler became a key operative of Zagota, a Polish underground organization dedicated to rescuing Jewish civilians. She was placed in charge of children's operations. The task was not only dangerous, it was heartbreaking. Irena and her colleagues had to convince parents who loved their children, who could not know what the future held, to give them up, to hand a child to a stranger and trust that the stranger would keep them alive, would give them a false name and a false identity and a false history, and would, someday, return them. Many parents refused. Some could not bear the separation. Some believed the Germans would not harm children. Some simply could not let go. For those who agreed, Irena devised methods of extraordinary ingenuity and coldness of nerve. Infants were sedated and hidden in toolboxes, in potato sacks, in the bottom of laundry baskets. Older children were taught to walk calmly past German checkpoints, coached on their false names, their false prayers, The correct response is, if questioned. A dog trained to bark at German guards covered the sounds of crying children in the back of an ambulance. Each child who left the ghetto received a new name. Their original name, their real name, was written on a piece of paper and placed inside a glass jar. Irena kept the jars. She kept every name. She was determined that no child would lose their identity permanently, whatever happened. She and her network smuggled approximately 2,500 children out of the Warsaw Ghetto between 1942 and 1943. On October 20, 1943, the Gestapo came for Irena Sendler at 4 in the morning. She had been betrayed, by whom was never definitively established. Before the Gestapo arrived, she managed to pass the list of children's names to a colleague. The jars were buried beneath the apple tree in a neighbor's garden. The names were safe. Irena was taken to Pawiak prison, one of the most feared detention centers in occupied Poland. Over the following weeks, she was tortured. The Gestapo broke both her legs and both her feet, attempting to make her reveal the names of her collaborators and the locations of the hidden children. She revealed nothing. Not one name, not one address, not one child. She was sentenced to death. On the day scheduled for her execution, Jagoda bribed a German guard. Irena Sendler was listed on official German records as executed. In reality, she was released, broken, barely able to walk, and spent the remainder of the war in hiding under a false identity. She continued her work from hiding. When the war ended in 1945, she dug up the jars. She compiled the lists. She worked with Jewish organizations to trace the children and reconnect them with surviving relatives. Most had none. The families recorded on those pieces of paper, the mothers and fathers and grandparents and siblings, had been killed in the Treblinka extermination camp during the liquidation of the Warsaw Ghetto in 1942 and 1943. The children were alive. Their world was gone. For decades after the war, Irena Sendler's story was almost entirely unknown outside Poland. Under communist rule, her work with the Polish underground was suppressed. She lived quietly, worked as a nurse, and rarely spoke publicly about what she had done. In 1965, Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust memorial, recognized her as righteous among the nations. She planted a tree in Jerusalem, in the memorial grove. It was one of the few public acknowledgments she received for 30 years. In 1999, 4 students from a small high school in Kansas, working on a history project, rediscovered her story and wrote a play called Life in a Jar. The play was performed thousands of times across the United States and eventually brought Irena Sendler's name to international attention for the first time. She was 89 years old when the world finally began to learn who she was. In 2007, she was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. She did not receive it. Irena Sendler died on May 12, 2008, at the age of 98. She had spent the last years of her life in a Warsaw nursing home, cared for by one of the children she had saved, now an elderly woman herself. When asked in her final years whether she felt she had done enough, Irena Sendler always gave the same answer. She said she felt only regret for the children she had not been able to save, for the parents who had said no, for the ones she had arrived too late for. 2,500 children, and she counted only the one she had lost.